understand, but the
14.2.
concept is that concept. That
Right. We were only worried if they
We can
didn't.
clear that up.
They
They left us half
Yeah,
done.
okay.
Right. Well,
So if they're done and they sublet,
right.
it falls under that same concept.
I'm just saying that I'm going to vote for this tonight, but I just want the world to know that I'm very uncomfortable with that, not coming to that. We're delegating that power to the city attorney and the city manager, and I think that it's a role that we should not abdicate. But if you guys want to go forward with it, then
All right. Any other questions? Comments? Do I have a motion?
I'll move approval.
First, a move to close the public hearing. Anything else, Lynn?
Close the public hearing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Lynn, let me ask you one more question. The exhibits attached to the ground lease agreement, they talk about lesser improvements and lessee improvements. Is there some reason why they don't? They're spending $19 million. Is there some reason why there isn't greater detail as to what their improvements are? It's just a map. It's
They
just
they have to provide you with a value. It's in there later.
In the term of the lease within the first year, because it's still a moving target,
Right.
we've agreed to provide what's called a schedule of values of like this building, X dollars, the improvements to the.
Yeah, I got that. I saw that. But I mean, in terms of what you're actually building, it's just not detailed in the attachments. It's just a drawing.
So you're talking about the rendering as that was the one that was approved by the commission. That was
Right.
the one that.
We approved that in
Yeah.
principle, but in terms of the actual what you're doing,
like an engineering drawing, like engineering plans and specs.
well, that's usually what's done when they're attachments.
Well,
like when you lease a build to suit.
So just recall, I don't mean to cut
Yeah.
you off, sorry. You guys still have final approval on final site plan. So the rendering is there as sort of an exhibit of intent. We obviously are not going to pay for hundreds of thousands of dollars for engineering until we at least know that we have a lease. So, but you do have the commission does have final approval on site plan. So that comes back before you for your approval.
Okay, all right. I don't want to believe this. All right, thank you.
So we closing the public hearing. Is this the vote?
We're closing the public hearing. There's a motion. There's a second.
That's my motion.
there a
Close the
second?
public hearing.
Seconded by Bruce.
Okay.
All right. Yes.
Commissioner Rogers,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Roberts, Commissioner Trentalis.
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie, Mayor Seiler.
Yes, public hearing is now closed.
All right. Now I'm going to move approval with one change. I think that we ought to agree that we will not waive the provision of getting a release from CBRE before going forward.
Certainly be brief. So I just want to acknowledge the collaborative effort between Brian DeVos, who's the attorney for Suntex, and the hard work that he's done in preparing this, as well as we've worked closely together on this. And Lee has been very instrumental in helping to make the business decisions related to this transaction. So as you know, this is a 50-year lease, and this disclosure is for the public, and it's with Olas SMI LLC, which is a subsidiary of Suntex Marina Investors LLC and Edgewater Resources LLC. They are going to make substantial improvements to the property and regarding about $19 million. And they have 5 years to complete the proposed improvements. Their rent structure provides for a base rent of $550 per year through the initial completion date. Subsequent base rent starting at $1 million and 10% increments every 5 years after that. and then percentage rent on slip revenue, ancillary operations revenue, and ship store operations. The Suntex is going to be responsible for all of the revenue associated with the sovereignty lands lease and the uplands deeds that's owed to the state. They have to make contributions to capital reserve account of $150,000 a year. The CRA will provide a temporary support facility during the construction phase. They will build 2 restaurants subject to approval, and the conditions for those restrictions are contained in the lease. And the manager and the city auditor is delegated certain authorities under the lease to make certain decisions.
All right, any questions?
May I make a brief final statement?
Yeah. I'm going to leave Mr. Filler and Mr. Schultz for last. I don't think we need to do any specific presentation. I believe the Venetian condo had a meeting today, and the Jackson Towers. Could I ask Rose Kurlander to go first, and perhaps Jim DeFrancisco from Jackson Tower to follow that? Is that all right with you all? Rose, come on up. And I know you said there was a meeting today that went fairly well.
Yes.
All right, why don't we have you start?
We were invited, thank you commissioners and mayor for having us tonight on the agenda. We were invited to a town hall this morning, first meeting that we've been to concerning this subject. We're from the Venetian condominium. Jackson Tower was represented, Portofino and Leisure Beach were also there. We appreciate Suntex, Mr. Filler from Suntex, and Mr. Schultz and Dario from Edgewater Resources for their time and all the information that they gave us, because this was the first we had seen this plan. We're basically here to say, I'm actually speaking for our building. I'm the vice president of the board, and we think there are lots of pluses to this plan. Let's call it a concept right now, to this concept. They gain twice the linear footage for dockage. There's waterfront property for Jackson Tower and Leisure Beach. There'd be upgraded facilities for mega yachts, cruise, and a police substation. There'd be enhanced pedestrian promenades and more access to the waterfront areas, and possible waterfront eateries, supposedly locally run. However, there were several concerns that were brought up at the meeting from the attendees and also some from our building, and I'd just like to review some of those to the commission. Since 4 plans were presented on October 5th, which was the night of the approaching hurricane that thank God we didn't get, only one, there was an evaluation committee apparently at that meeting who was appointed, and they explained, had a recommendation for an alternate C proposal. That proposal was for a mega yacht and 2 restaurant plan for the Marina, and that was the one we were shown this morning. There were 3 versions of that. The one that was the most popular one was had a restaurant basically where it was the restaurant and the 3 different proposals were in 3 different locations in the Marina area. The one that was most popular this morning was the one that was next, basically where the water taxi area is right now. It had most water view, and for several other reasons, that was the one that was most popular. But some questions were brought up. Do we actually need 1 restaurant? Do we actually need 2 restaurants? Because there's also a casual restaurant that's included in this proposal. Some of the other concerns that came up were what about the committee process? These were great ideas from Suntex, but what about Marine Advisory Board? We didn't have any information from them. The Beach Redevelopment Board, CBA, and Neighborhood Outreach for more information. There has been no neighborhood outreach except for this morning that I know of. We only had 3 members of our board attend, but not any other members of our 237
Are you
units.
speaking as the head of your association?
Yes.
I'll give you an extra 2 minutes.
We had discussion of traffic flow during busy times, delivery routes, drop-offs in areas, tram schedules. Important that we questioned, a very important issue came up. They questioned the relocation of the city pumping station. Also, the lease agreement of public property and private business. We wanted more detail for long-term leases. And lastly, are we going to be in the same predicament legally as the Aquatic Center, since we only have one bid that's being presented? Is that going to come up again legally? So we think this is a very good concept. We think we need to get ahead of all these concerns and details before the vote in February of 17. Thanks.
Thank you. Let me call Jim DeFrancesco up from Jackson Towers, also speaking on behalf of Jackson Towers. You're going to need the 5 minutes?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, especially Dean. Thank you very much for endorsing us today and having an outreach for Suntex to come to visit the association members. It was a privilege to host a meeting this morning where we invited the neighboring associations along the Marina to join us for a presentation that was made by David Filler and his associates at Suntex. It was a very thorough presentation of the Marina this morning. It was a town hall meeting, as I mentioned, and present at the meeting was the Portofino, the Leisure Beach South, and as well as the Venetian associations. As a result of what I thought was a very successful meeting, I'd like to share with you some of the thoughtful feedback resulting from our meeting this morning with our neighboring associations. However, before I begin, I must mention that I only speak officially for the residents of Jackson Tower. It's a 125-unit condominium, high-rise directly adjacent to the marina that's being proposed. That said, as a general matter, I believe all the associations and their directors who attended embraced the marina project with the addition of an upscale restaurant. Suntex did a very respectful job presenting, listening, and offering suggestions to the issues and questions that the over 30-plus attendees who attended raised. So I'd like to share some of those comments with you to be on the record. While there may be still some unknown answers to these questions, I implore you to keep us informed as how these concerns are going to be addressed in the city's plan when the project begins and throughout the project. The presentation was largely about, as Roseanne said, alternate Plan C that is titled Mega Yacht Plan Plus Restaurant. And as you know, this plan incorporates dredging out the parking lot to accommodate a large basin for additional dockage, an upscale restaurant, and a separate location along the promenade for an upscale lounge and bar. After much discussion, the number one choice for the location of the restaurant was Plan C3, which is this locates the restaurant at the uppermost northwest corner of the marina. Although not voted upon, this location was generally the first choice of everyone in the room for the following reasons. First, it provides the best open water view of the restaurant for patrons. It provides the preservation of green space between the restaurant and Jackson Tower Las Olas. It provides additional flexibility for loading and offloading patrons for valet services to the garage. The second most favored location for the restaurant was along the promenade on the west side of the garage. The reasons for this location, or second choice, was that it provides an open view of the water for the restaurant patrons. It is also on the opposite side of the garage, which is non-intrusive of the residents from a viewpoint. In other words, the garage will be between the residents and the restaurant.
So you would incorporate it into the garage? Is that what you're saying?
No, not this. No, this was a consideration along the promenade.
Okay.
Okay, on the opposite side of the street.
Right.
But on the west side of the garage. So actually, the garage would.
Finish and we'll take
Yeah, I
questions.
just wanted to make sure I understood what you were saying. Okay.
That's correct.
Sorry.
It provides that location provides greater accessibility to the parking garage, which could be a factor. The one negative issue was whether or not there was a large enough footprint along that promenade to accommodate the restaurant that was being proposed. In either case, We understand that there will be an upscale restaurant, which is appealing to our association members and residents. We further understand that the restaurant will be resident-friendly, which we take into account such things as noise restriction and pet friendliness for those who have pets in terms of the outdoor cafe. So those are important considerations. No particular recommendation was made as to type of cuisine, although Suntex promised that it would be fine dining, which we think is very important. We don't want to identify with what goes on at the beach. What were the concerns regarding the restaurant and the marina? I have 8 of those. Loading and offloading the delivery for delivery vehicles.
Are these the same ones she read?
Similar.
Why don't you just add the one she didn't read, and you can turn that in as part of the record.
I'll do that. We're looking for adequate parking for vendors and trucks that will service the marina as well as our buildings. Now, right now, you're going to reduce that South Birch Road into one 2-lane road. You're going to get rid of that circle, which will create a problem in front of our building because oftentimes we have moving vans that are offloading, and it's not going to be wide enough to deal with 2-lane traffic as well as that. You also have vendors coming along with their utility trucks servicing these buildings. If we don't have curb insets.
We got that. And I'll Commissioner Trentalis follow on. What other ones do you have? That's because the time's up and I gave you extra time.
Okay, thank you. Non-intrusive lighting.
Okay.
We're worried about what lighting is going to be put up on the garage. We prefer indirect lighting. There has been a suggestion of burying the power lines along South Birch Road. They're an eyesore, and if you're going to rip everything up anyway, we'd really like the city bury the power lines. And traffic pattern issues. It's just a question at this point, but I think you've already figured that in. And the last thing I want to say is that we want to stay, and we do appreciate the fact that we're engaged. It seemed like we can have a great working relationship, all 5 of us associations with Suntex. We want to expand that relationship with the city.
Well, that's what Commissioner Trentalis' role is going to be, and he'll be there for you, and I'm sure he'll keep you guys in the loop. So
thank you,
just
Mayor.
like he did today.
And thank you, Commissioner. We look forward to having you at our board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Abby Laughlin. If you want to leave that list too, you can leave it up here with us. I have one just for you. Great, thank you.
Just a quick support of the Marina project, and as the folks said here before, it seemed like this afternoon the C3 project was most favored.
Does the CBA have a position on
Yes.
Which one do they like the best?
Well, not on these. We have not seen a presentation on this, but we have supported in the
I
past.
know you support the concept. We've
The
talked
concept
about
of the expanded marina, but we look forward to inviting Suntex to our next meeting for our members. But the last time we saw a project, we didn't like the project that had 2 hotels on it, but we supported an expanded
I don't think we like the one with 2 hotels either, so don't worry about it.
Yes. So just thank you and support.
Abby, thank you. Next up, Craig Fisher. Just making noise.
Hello again. This was the first time, and I have to thank our commissioner. I usually don't. I'm always breaking his tones, but it's okay. It's a love-hate relationship. Mostly love, Dean. Remember that. We're both from Connecticut. In any case, it was very nice for the Suntex to come and meet with our buildings today. Unlike with the garage.
And you're in which building?
Leisure Beach.
Leisure Beach, all right.
Right. I also want to support the number 3 C3 concept with the restaurant there. I was very opposed when I went there this morning to any kind of restaurant. Suntex made a tremendous. They really, really did. They're very professional, and I want to just also say this. I know with everything going on down there at the beach, the city. I would really hope you roll out the red carpet to them in every way that you can. There's a lot of infrastructure
You
there.
told us not to talk to him before this morning. Now you want us to roll out the red carpet for him?
Can I change my mind? I told you,
My
when I like
people are
something,
conflicted.
when I like something, I like something. When I don't, you definitely, I make no bones about it. Lastly, I just want to bring this up. I brought it up to Dean, and it's just something for your consideration. Now, with the boat show being staged, you cannot pass through the Las Olas Circle, and that is pretty much your meeting this afternoon regarding the beach improvements. That, I think, is something that you're going to have to go and revisit, because right now, staging the boat show, putting the docks in, Las Olas Circle is virtually closed for the day. And I think most of the weekend it was closed. But since last Thursday, when we all returned back from the hurricane, or threat of a hurricane, I should say, they've been working very, very diligently. Show management, another professional company that we're very, very blessed to have working in our city and keeping our boat show going. So if we're going to provide this garage, ingress and egress is very important. Las Olas Circle is the main way to get in there. And I think that we have to just go back and revisit this, Dean, as I said to you last night, because it's very important. But again, I would really like to see whatever the city...
C3 though, right? Is that the...
C3 is
Thank
very,
you, Mr.
very
Fisher.
nice. It really is.
Appreciate Art
Thank you.
Sites.
Before Art comes up, can I just get a clarification from Suntex? When I'm looking at page 132.
Well, hold on. Can we just close the public
Well, I
hearing?
just want to see which one we keep talking about. I want to make sure, because, I mean, is he the last one? Is Art Sites the last
Arts is the last one, and then that, yes.
one? Okay, all right.
So, Art, and I appreciate it. I know you've worked hard on this. I don't want to have this back and forth with the public hearing open, because it's going to be...
Yep.
Go ahead, Art.
I'm delighted that they're going to have a iconic, world-class, upscale restaurant.
Well, I don't know what you guys did this morning, but these guys have never agreed on anything. I mean, this is amazing.
Well, you were vehemently
This is
opposed to
really-
a restaurant, so
Great job, guys.
I'm glad you changed
We're
your
going to
mind
put you in
there.
charge of traffic next.
Right, yeah.
Think we can hire him as lobbyists or what?
Well, I think the success was the
Oh,
fact
I'm
that
sorry, Art,
we
go
went
ahead.
to the people and asked them their opinion.
Excuse me, Dean. Right.
I'll start your time over, Art.
Thank you very much. You got $1 billion property there. You've got wonderful views. Good idea putting it in the northwest where you've got open water. The vistas and views of the intercoastal and of the sunsets, and maybe the downtown, if you're smart enough to build this at least 3 stories high. But if you're 2 stories high, I'm happy with that. That's a hell of an improvement over putting something at ground level where the view is blocked by 91 additional yachts and boats and what have you. The promenade needs to be world class. It's the key part of the A18 Greenway. It's 27 miles long. If you get $2.5 million from the Broward Foundation to fix up DC Alexander Park, which, congratulations, Romney, you're the only one that went out and found some money. I hope that money is still there for DC Alexander Park. Maybe you should go back and see if you get some additional funds for art in public places and so forth. I've sent a lot of newspaper clippings, articles, examples, links, and so forth as to what you can do to enhance this promenade. The promenade is something that's going to be a public benefit. I think you should be talking to Stacy Ritter, Tourist Development, and find out, what she thinks might be in there. I think it would make sense. You got 8.5 acres and 7.5 of it, I think, is north of the bridge. Just give EDSA, give the same working group that accomplished a ton of stuff in an hour or 2 hours, whatever you spent this morning, a chance to take a look at this thing, and maybe you can do even better. I could see something like Bayside, where you've got restaurants that are overlooking the boats and yachts that are down below. This is an opportunity that comes once in a lifetime, and it is not something for people that are 70 or 80 years old. It's for people that are the millenniums that are probably going to use this. There were 91 pages of sole, that's one request for proposal response on this. there was like 800 pages, if I'm hearing correct, that were dropped in as backup material on Friday night, 3 or 4 days before the hurricane. Hardly anyone took a look at it. The Beach Redevelopment Advisory Board, I talked to Tony Abate, he hadn't seen it. The only reason I saw the response was I went down to procurement and found it. I looked online and I couldn't find any indication that it was there, but it was there on August 25th. I'm feeling good about the restaurant aspect. I think that's going to turn it into a destination. There's nothing better than good restaurants on the intercoastal that you can put on the beach as an attraction.
Thank you, Art. Okay, you had a question?
I move to close the public hearing.
All right, there's been a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second? Been seconded by Bruce.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Trentalis.
Yes.
Mayor Sodden.
Yes, public hearing's closed. Dean, you have
Okay.
a question?
Yeah, Mr. Suntex, can you come up here?
Yes, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I'm looking at the backup, Exhibit 1, and it says alternate proposal C, and it says alternate proposal C, which is page 131 and 132 of your response to the RFP. Now, in one picture, it has the restaurant on the existing land, and another, and in the next picture, it has the alternative location of the restaurant, which is more like out on the dock. Can you tell us which is the one that has been proposed, or has been not proposed, but supported by the community this morning? You know what I'm talking about?
So,
I think he's trying to.
yeah, so on,
It's on the screen right now.
yeah, so on page, when we attended today's, first of all, David Filler on behalf of Suntex, thank you all for having us here
Right,
tonight.
David, just for the record, your team is Ron Schultz, David Filler, and Dario Meyer.
Correct.
All right.
Correct, Mayor.
So this is the one we're looking at?
So, yes, so when we went to present, in our RFP, on page, I believe it's 64 of the RFP, and on page 113 of the RFP, we identify a variety of number of locations for the possible restaurant. To digress for one quick second, every one of the stakeholders that we've talked to, including the boat show, the residents, EDSA, and a few others, all believe that the mega yacht marina design is the better design, as well as we do, from a design perspective, because of the primary reason is it gives us more flexibility.
Right, but let me save time, because I don't think anybody up here disagrees with that.
Okay.
So I think we're in agreement on that. I think the only issue that Commissioner Vice Mayor Trentalis has is he wants to make sure the restaurant, I think the mega yacht, we're all in agreement on, right? So
Yep, okay.
we keep this short enough to the presentation
Sure,
to
sure.
address this issue.
Right, so the restaurant was in 3 different locations. It's on the, can you go to slide C3?
On your chart right now.
Can you go to C3?
You want to see if we can-
C3, so the location on the screen, if you can see it, that location of the restaurant where it's on the north.
Looks like it's on a peninsula there.
It's, yeah, so instead of excavating the entire area, we would leave a portion of the uplands in place. It would act as a barrier, as a wave attenuator as well, and we would put a restaurant on that little peninsula. Additionally, the residents of the 4 buildings that we spoke to asked if we could possibly put a restaurant on the southwest corner of the facility. And we went to EDSA, and they said that was something they had originally even talked about and planned, and said that was a great idea as well. They've since sent an email to some of the staffers. We met with Paul Kissinger at EDSA, and he recommended that we should possibly do 3 locations. That location on the north side could, instead of being a bigger 10,000 square foot, could be sort of reduced, and we could put a separate and a third restaurant on that sort of southwest corner of the marina facility.
Well, the concern that I have, let's talk about the first site.
Okay.
There was another alternative plan, was to put it a little bit further east, right? No, not that one. There. Okay. That's been nixed, right?
That's off the table.
Okay.
off the table.
All right. So you bring it back onto the peninsula, right there. How are you going to get in and out? How's there going to be parking? I just see it's a nightmare.
It's all going to be valet parking, but the in and out of that at the back of the house is all yet to be determined. You
Yeah.
have to go through all the procedures and look at access ingress.
Well, yeah, I know that. So, okay.
So EDSA has confirmed with us that they have a lot of flexibility over there in providing some additional cutouts to allow back of the house to park and be able to service that facility.
Okay, so let's look at Plan B now. The other one there. That's smack right in front of Leisure Beach South, right?
So that proposal's off the table.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that either. And what was the next one? The one in front of the garage? There was another one in front of the garage, which,
Well, the one in
Blue building.
the blue building, no one had any issues with the blue building. That is more of a bar, kind of casual chic environment that just kind of, in the Marina Services building to provide some, additional ship store and some other amenities to the patrons of the marina.
and was there any discussion about putting a restaurant to the west of that garage?
So we talked about extending that particular building, or it was brought up to request extend that building. The challenge is that promenade is not that wide there to make it. It would be very long and skinny. And we
Well,
thought,
can you bring the promenade out?
no, it's part of the submerged land lease.
That is part of the submerged land lease, okay.
Yeah, we're kind of limited there.
Yeah, we're very. That's why they suggested along that south corner over here. There's a lot more space right there to also possible location.
And did the people that attended, the people from the Venetian that attended the meeting today, did they have anything to say about that?
I don't remember which person was from which condo association because there's about 50 members, but that issue of a restaurant and that location was suggested by several members of that
Right,
community.
but I know historically the folks from Venetian have always argued against that. And so,
There should be a reason why the park was going to be there and why it was decided as far as staging for the boat show, because all the other staging was being taken away where the garage is. And we really didn't talk about this as a
Right.
plan. It was brought up from one person. It was not.
All right, yeah.
Two restaurants.
Hang on, ma'am. We're not
Sorry.
we're not making a record of it, so we're not going there tonight. We'll have to discuss that.
so that's still an option?
That's still an option.
Okay, you would have to talk with the folks at the Venetian and okay.
And,
All right.
and our objective is to continue this collaborative effort with all the members of all those four buildings to address all the stakeholders.
Okay, so moving this issue along then, the community, number one, is wants to have the marina, okay? It's going to be a mega yacht marina, okay? And we are going to have a restaurant, okay?
We're thinking C3.
Maybe two.
Perhaps
Well,
two.
Yeah, so, but let's just face it, our community can only support so many restaurants, and we don't want to see this
Agreed.
fail, right? So, and there's not even a discussion of an operator or a brand yet, so we're not even there yet. So at this point, the community is with us on at least one, maybe two restaurants, but not really knowing exactly where that's going to be. Okay, so that gives me clarity now as to where we're at, and now it's a question of ironing out the details as to where that would go. And you're going to maintain and continue your dialogue with these buildings. We now have a working group. I appreciate your taking the effort today and talking to the folks that are in the area. I think that helps people feel like they're part of the process as opposed to being excluded from the process. And I think that's why I think we have more buy-in into this ultimate goal here. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Any further discussion? Any further debate?
So what is the
We need a motion.
What is the motion?
Well, we're gonna need I would recommend we introduce the resolution to approve it with C3 as the proposal. I think we leave the option open for a second restaurant. I think we agree on the Marina, mega yacht marina with the one restaurant, and then I'd like to have you, Dean, work with your district and see if you can agree on a second location.
The C3 has two restaurants already. It's really a small, kind of more of a bar with kind of finger food.
Oh, I don't mind a little expansion of that. I think let's have it done in the proper context.
Okay. Right. Okay.
So we'll do
I'll make that.
C3, to introduce C3 by Dean.
I think it's a good idea to have like a little sundries type of hut there, because when you're coming off your boat, it's nice to be able to have like a snack bar or whatever without having to feel like you had to get dressed up to go to the restaurant. Yeah.
And I would also meet with the CBA. Make sure you have that meeting with them on the two restaurants.
100%,
Right,
Mayor.
Abby's right there to talk to.
We will, Mayor.
Okay.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of, and this is as amended tonight. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, selecting C3 proposal submitted by Suntex Marina Investors LLC in partnership with Edgewater Resources LLC, providing for an effective date. Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Trentell?
Yes.
Mayor Siler?
Yes, and by your vote, that's approved as stated. I want to thank everybody for working on this. I want to specifically thank Commissioner Trentalis for putting together that meeting. But I also want to thank Suntex for taking the time. And at the end of the day, I think we're going to have a better product because of this. So I encourage you all to stay in touch as you move forward. And specifically as to the residents, please work through Dean in terms of coordinating everything. You guys understand that? It'd be the smoothest way to get it done. All right, next up, R5, a quasi-judicial resolution approving